And most importantly, if it makes you feel emotional, if it makes you feel scared, ashamed, worried, flattered.
Anything that piques any emotion.
They play on our emotions to cloud our judgment so that we click that link, so that we panic and enter our card details or our password.
This is the BMW X4M. A crazy monster disguised as a crazy monster, which is not exactly what you can say about my next guest, who's a cybersecurity consultant.
You're listening to Shotgun. We share knowledge. Powered by BMW in collaboration with UNX. Hosted by Emil Thorup.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first international version of Shotgun. It might seem weird that I speak English, but my guest is British, and she is the best cybersecurity expert the Great Britain has to offer. And she's doing a keynote speak at Langelinje Pavilion, where I'm picking her up in a few minutes. And actually, I'm driving her to the airport, so I'm some kind of taxi, apparently. But that's all the time she has, is, the time from Langelinje Pavilion to the airport. So I'm taking advantage of that. And her topic today, I think, is super relevant for basically anyone who owns a computer or has a phone. Because cyber threats is the next big thing in crime. And I'm very interested in what she has to say, and she's very focused on the human aspect of cybersecurity, not the technological part, which we actually already talked about in Shotgun from a white hat hacker. But this is more like on the personal level, on the human level. What can we do to encourage people and ourselves to actually take it seriously and get it done? So I'm very excited about that. I'm gonna pick her up in a minute. Hello.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. Oh yeah, that's Corona style. I don't know when we'll be airing this, but it'll probably still be going around.
Unfortunately.
Oh my god, that's terrible. So we won't touch each other, basically.
Okay, yeah.
Which I guess that's a weird thing to say to someone you just met. I'm so happy you want to join me for a little ride.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And also, the reason why you appreciate it is because I will be driving you to the airport.
Yes.
Everybody knows how expensive, we
know.
have no more Uber, that's like out.
Yes.
So you have to take a really very expensive taxi, but also.
So I will wait for the invoice.
Please.
I appreciate.
No, we will. What we'll do is I'll take your knowledge and take that out of your brain and put it into my own brain and the people who are listening, watching. I think that's a fair price.
Yes, I've got a good deal.
And you just did a keynote speech up here.
Yeah, for the Dubex Summit about cybersecurity and how we can more positively talk to people about cybersecurity.
So people don't get phished. Is that a thing? Yeah. So people don't get switch off and get phished or give away their password or use weak passwords. All of my mother keeps calling me about all the time. Whenever she gets emails, I need to update my nemt, which is our thing we have in Denmark for and I'm like, no, you don't, Kirsten. No, you do not click on that. I think, oh, really? It looks it looks really like the real thing. I'm like, they're getting better.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah.
They're getting
a lot better compared to a few years ago. So no, just don't click, just go to the source.
Yes. A couple of years ago, everything was there's terrible grammatics, there's not even real words. But now, even I get confused.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Oh, even security professionals get caught out.
I'm so happy about
that. Yeah.
Get in.
Cool.
I bought you a coffee as well.
Oh, you're so kind.
This is our first international version of Shotgun.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, well,
and I don't know if you can deduct why we're calling it Shotgun.
Because I'm riding shotgun.
Yes! Oh, thank you! First one to get that right.
Oh, for you.
People are idiots.
Okay, pressure's off.
Yeah, done. Well, we have
ahead.
to just relax now. We don't even need to talk about things. I'm sold. Well, obviously, from back in the day, a diligencen, I don't know what that's called in English, but we'd ride around, and then the guy sitting there would have a shotgun.
Yes, of course.
To shoot at Indians and stuff. Yeah, it's not great. It's not a great story, actually.
We won't dwell on that.
Yeah, let's not dwell on that. That's actually terrible. But you do realize that's your role.
Yeah, okay.
And now today, obviously, it's more what music, where are we going?
Sure.
Yeah.
Snacks,
exactly.
I have no snacks.
I know.
I've really failed. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about that as well.
I should have brought candy.
Yes. Or chips. I guess that's French fries in British, right?
Well, we have chips as well. We call them chips, are the big version of French fries.
Oh,
Yeah.
but chips in Danish is like crisps. Oh, that's called crisps.
Crisps.
I love how this is now a show about the differences between English and American English and Danish.
Sure.
And it makes no sense. I think we already established that you're not like this dull, nerdy type.
I mean, thank you.
Well.
Yeah.
But your, what can you say, your topic is cybersecurity.
Sure.
And that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Maybe in a grander scale, in terms of how to nudge people into actually doing the thing that's best for them in the company. But could you just spend like 1 minute telling us like who you are?
Yeah.
What's your reason to be able to talk about the subject?
So yeah, I work in cybersecurity. I have done for about 10 years. My background before that is in sociology, town planning, civic design.
Wow.
And then
that's random.
I know, extremely random. And then I was headhunted for a cybersecurity firm, and that was basically my response. Like, that's random. What's cybersecurity? So
yeah, is this online?
Exactly.
Am I online for this?
The internet
Joe?
that I've heard so much about.
We want to give you head of cybersecurity. Like, does that mean I have to go online? I mean, yeah, that pretty much
that's it.
That would pretty much be it. Anyway, so you got headhunted for that, yeah?
So yeah, and I thought, well, this is, how can I do that? Cybersecurity is very technical. What's that all about? But they wanted me to apply a human perspective to cybersecurity. So I took the job, and here I am 10 years later. I've done loads of things in cybersecurity around awareness raising, around how to encourage people to have more positive behaviours with security. And so for the last few years, I've been running a business that my husband and I founded called Cygenta. He's an ethical hacker.
He's an ethical hacker?
He's an ethical hacker.
Is that what's called like white hat?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, he's a white hat.
Okay. Because I actually interviewed a white hat as well.
Cool.
Which is an episode you also should watch. I know if you don't know a Danish, maybe doesn't make any sense. And it was it's a super interesting approach, but that's the more nerdy approach.
It's the,
right?
yeah. It's
or not nerdy, it's not. I don't think nerd is a
technical.
bad thing.
Oh yeah,
right,
no,
technical.
embrace the inner nerd.
Yeah.
We all should.
Love it.
But yeah, he's more technical. So he does ethical hacking, and he also has a background in social engineering, which is basically physically breaking into buildings.
Yes.
So one way or another, he's breaking into our clients with their permission and stealing their information and telling them how he did it.
Excellent.
And then I do awareness raising. I work on their culture. So he does the attack bit, I do the defend bit, and then we have a small team that works with us.
And then you do a lot of keynote speaks as well, I guess,
do a lot of
companies.
keynote stuff. Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of you're what can you say? You're founded in like the human perspective of security, which, and I'm jumping not to the conclusion, I'm just guessing, is the weakest link. This as of right now.
That's what a lot of people would say.
That's what I would say. I think.
Sure, that's what a lot would say. The way I understand it and the way I try and explain it is, in security, we've focused very much on the technical stuff.
Yes.
And we have neglected people.
But like things.
Yeah, we've focused all on technical, all on firewalls, on antivirus, on all of this stuff. And we've kind of left people out to dry a bit. We've left people vulnerable.
That is true.
So I never like to say people are the weakest link, because it implies blame on the people.
I take it back.
Whereas we are responsible in the industry.
Okay.
So my work is all about encouraging companies and people to see what they can do to better engage people, how they can make their practices and their technology more people friendly so people can actually use them. Because security is often kind of made into a burden. It's made difficult for people.
Can I come with a little example from my own life where I actually realized how big difference it made when once the security part was humanized.
Okay.
And that's the face recognition thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's now tied up to all my apps, all my digital footprint. Like everything I do on my phone is just my face now.
Sure.
Not even the thumb thing, which I thought was a little annoying, but now it's just the face.
Your face.
I literally can do anything. And for me to accept that as a password have taken a long time, because I'm used to being like, oh, big capital X, little c with a cross, and then maybe a dot, or like, I don't even know the words in English for the slash, backslash, all that asterisk, whatever. And, all of a sudden, that was just nullified. That's just void. Like, that didn't matter anymore. Now, the face, and apparently that's even a better a password than anything else in the world.
Yeah, well, this is it. Passwords have been a problem for a very long time. Passwords are a great example of things that are often a burden for people because we have so many different things we need passwords for or authentication for. And this means people generally use passwords that are not very secure and they use the same password all over the place, which is the worst thing you can do. So
I have a two-step now on my Instagram and say all that stuff, and email.
Brilliant.
And thing. So I'm getting there.
That's great. That's really, really important.
I did not have that 6 months ago.
But you do now.
Yes. Well.
So that's the main thing. So yeah, anything where we can make security easier to use and easier to understand, that's what I'm all about.
Okay, so let's move on to, I think, the first kind of a topic, but our first touch point. What is the actual problem? I mean, I guess you're solving something, but I guess that you should also have a problem,
we're responding to the problem.
Yes, and what is that? Is that real?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Okay.
It is real. So cybersecurity, we've been able to see, even just from the headlines in the news, the last few years, how much the problem of cybercrime has grown. And it's not just cybercrime, but also the fact that so much of our data is connected. So much of our data is online.
Yes.
This is brilliant in so many ways. It helps us connect, it helps us work, it helps us with our personal life. It enhances our lives so much. But
there's a
of
backside.
Course, yeah, it brings vulnerabilities. And when it comes to issues often with organizations or in our personal lives, what we're seeing is more and more criminals taking advantage of these vulnerabilities online. And this is either by hacking companies or by socially engineering their way in.
Which, as hacking, is the classical, more like breaking codes,
Exactly.
like stuff, where social engineering would be getting someone to do something.
Yes.
Because you're kind of convincing them that you're someone you're not.
Exactly.
Ish.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's manipulating people to give away information or access to information or money by posing as someone or a company that they trust.
Sorry, I have to drive like a crazy person all the time. That's called phishing, right?
Yeah.
Ish,
so,
or
yeah.
I keep hearing this word.
So phishing is what we used to see more, which is those general, like, blanket, often emails that they used to be kind of like, oh, I'm a foreign prince and I want to give you all my money.
The Nigerian scheme?
Yeah, exactly.
I just say that, but yeah.
I just need you to give me like this small amount of money and then I'll give you millions. Yes. So that's phishing. That was very generalized.
Okay.
And we got used to that. So
even my mother knows not to
like
email back to the Nigerian prince.
Exactly. We have all learned what that is.
Okay.
So what happens then is, of course, cyber criminals up the ante. So they now do what we call spear phishing, which is they target the phishing. So they will use your name. It'll be an email or a text message that looks like it comes from your boss or your friend or your bank. So it's targeted. It uses branding. They will use an email address or a web address that looks very similar to the legitimate one. So it's sneaky. It's much more
Netflix.
Exactly.
Update your payment on Netflix.com.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, is that a thing?
Yeah. Facebook.
Facebook. It's so funny.
Exactly.
Instagram.
Exactly.
Okay, that's it's not funny actually. But
it's not funny.
I guess it shows a little bit of, they're industrious at least.
Oh, they are very clever, unfortunately. But the good news is there's lots of clever people working on
both
protecting us
yes, okay.
as well.
And that's did you just manage to put yourself in that position?
Sure,
Yeah, well,
obviously. Yeah, of course.
I mean, that's great. So the issue at hand is that cyber criminals are getting better and better, and all of our data is connected in a more bigger way than they used to be, and which makes it even more vulnerable for us to be attacked in this way. And so this is the problem. Is the problem primarily for private people, or is it for organizations? Where would you say that we pose the biggest threat?
So that's a very good question.
Like if you put percentages on it, on a little pie chart or something. I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Pop-up little pie chart.
Yes.
Nice. So we see obviously organizations being targeted a lot, and this can be financial sector, it can be government, defense, but also anywhere where there's information and money. We also, of course, see people in their personal lives being affected.
But that's still contained within one or two people. Whereas if it's an organization, all of a sudden it can be huge.
And it can have a massive impact on that organization, people's jobs, people's income, but also a wider impact on the economy.
I guess if you shut down like a big organization, a big NGO, or a big government, that's a big thing. Or a state.
Happened a lot, yeah. And an important point to understand is I talked about it being targeted, but we also see a lot of cybercrime that is not targeted, and we can all be affected by that.
What does that mean, not targeted?
So for example, a couple of years ago, there was a big attack called WannaCry. WannaCry? WannaCry is
like I want to cry.
I want to cry.
Oh, WannaCry. Yeah, okay.
And this was a ransomware, so it basically like locked down data, locked down networks, and it spread itself through a vulnerability in a system. So it didn't target a particular company, but anyone using that system was affected by it.
Wow.
For example,
who got that money? Hackers.
Yeah, we don't quite know. They actually didn't make that much money.
So crime doesn't pay. That's a great thing to take from this, at least if you criminals are watching this. Yeah. I know you are. Anyway, sorry.
But it affected the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK. So it led to hospitals literally running on pen and paper, people not able to...
Sorry about that.
That's okay. People not able to make their appointments, surgeries not taking place. Like, it had a real impact. And that wasn't even targeted. That was just this.
So somebody wrote a bit of code that just like
This was, like a worm that spread ransomware and locked down data.
So you got like you had to pay this amount with like a credit card or Bitcoin or whatever.
This is what they say. It's like, pay this Bitcoin and we will give you the key so you can decrypt the data.
Did somebody do that? Is this actually happens in real? It's not just like in a film with Tom Cruise.
Ransomware is one of the biggest issues we've had in the last few years.
So exciting. It's not exciting, but it feels like the future, you know?
Ransomware is interesting because, it's affected some massive companies. For example, Maersk were caught up in a really big ransomware attack. Absolutely massive. You will have heard about this. It was huge. So we see huge companies being reduced to not being able to use their IT systems. And the criminals can be very sneaky with ransomware.
Yeah.
So, for example, they will infect the system, and a sort of a note will pop up on your screen saying you can't get to your data. You need to pay the ransom, pay it in Bitcoin. Well, if you don't know how to procure Bitcoin, then
here's a link.
Or ring this number. We'll tell you. You speak to our customer service, and we'll tell you how to do it because we're helpful criminals like that.
So you're actually, and somebody would answer the phone.
And someone will answer the phone and will talk you through.
You are shitting me.
Unfortunately.
That is not true.
Unfortunately not.
What the actual fuck?
Uh-huh.
So there's a criminal hotline. You could call this.
I know.
This is blowing my mind.
It's
so I understand an email, but a phone call?
Yeah.
What the fuck? So you'll be talking to the guy exposing you or trying
well, you'll be talking to a member of their team.
Yeah.
They're kind of set up like businesses. So
that's
they will have different
mental.
departments.
That is mental.
Yeah. This stuff is really has taken on a whole new level.
That blows my mind. I will say that is crazy.
Yeah.
So they obviously, if you're targeting organizations that are well driven, everything, then you as a criminal also have to have, a good setup.
You've got to have your processes in place. Like, you've got to make sure you can handle it. And it's varied. So we have that element of organized crime. But we have the opportunist stuff as well.
Yeah.
So what's
that mean?
There's lots of different groups. So there's organized, financially motivated cybercrime. That's a big bulk of it.
Yeah.
We then have what's called script kiddies.
Script
kiddies.
Kitties, like
kiddies,
children.
like kids, children. So the stereotype of a script kiddie, which is proven to be kind of true, is that they're usually young people, often men, often teenagers, and they're not hackers in that they will be sort of experienced. They won't be writing their own vulnerabilities in code.
No.
They're using other people's code.
Okay.
And they're watching some YouTube videos that teach them how to hack. And they're on the forums that talk about, the vulnerabilities and stuff.
8chan, stuff like that. Oh,
and then where
the worst people in the world just go.
Yeah, and then they have a go. And script kiddies have been behind some massive cyber attacks in the last few years.
Maybe because they do not realize the repercussions.
Exactly. That's exactly
They're not afraid of the law, and they don't know that they actually can go to jail for a long time doing this.
Yeah, and they don't think about the fact that they can do something that costs companies literally millions. And they're doing it kind of usually to show off. They're not really doing it for money. They're doing it to gain kudos with their friends. And then we have the hacktivists. So the online activists.
Kind of makes sense,
Yeah, doing it to make a point.
Maybe driven from even a decent cause?
Oh,
maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like climate or financial...
it can be, or corruption, or inequality.
Yeah, exactly. That must be difficult to kind of... I mean, as a person, as yourself, you must have been in a situation where, like, this guy's got a point.
It's tricky. You can sometimes see stuff and think, well,
it's not completely unfair.
I can understand it, but then you have to think about that wider issue, vigilantism.
Yes. I guess that's why we have a social structure,
exactly.
Right? As democratic countries. So I guess you're right. It's just once in a while, I think it's not always black and white.
It's complicated. Right? Yeah.
So if we should attack, like, what is the biggest issue? Would probably be companies, organizations, countries, government stuff being hacked, being spearphished, being all the things you said. That's probably the biggest threat against us as a humanity, or no?
Depends what you mean by the biggest threat. Because on one level, a company, being attacked, losing lots of money, it can impact people's jobs. A government can impact our services, but then an individual, if I'm buying a house and the estate agent's email gets hacked and the emails are intercepted, I can get an email from a cyber criminal saying, you need to pay the deposit now to these details.
You lose all your money.
This has happened so many times. People literally lose their life savings. So, what do you mean by the biggest threat?
Well, that's not a big threat. Yeah, but it's not a big threat as a country.
Not on a social level, but on an individual level is.
Can you insure your way out of this?
So
they should.
We're seeing a rise of cyber insurance, particularly, obviously for organisations.
Well, yeah, makes sense. But for it should be like
still developing.
Yeah, it should be part of a normal house insurance. It should just be like, we will protect also. But it's also you being a stupid ass. I know you don't want to say that, but.
And the thing is it? Because if I'm exchanging emails with my estate agent and another email comes in and it's from their address and it looks legit and it's using references of things we've maybe already spoken about, or it has all my information, I'm stressed, I'm busy, I'm trying to buy this house. Is it my fault? Is it? Should I be blamed? Do I have to lose my whole savings?
But who will be the judge on that?
I know.
Because what if you exploit that system? It's like, I didn't realize that was the same. I mean, it would be such a... I'm just saying, there's a lot of weak points at that, level.
Yeah, it's very
Not that that's not what we're talking about. It's just... But we are talking about it as a general thing. And I think that's going to be an important conversation that we'll have at some point.
Yes.
Let me just think, okay, so let's say this is the issue. We have the problem. What is the solution? That's obviously even more interesting, because I suppose you at least have an idea. Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways we can approach it. One thing is with our technology.
Okay.
We need to be building security in from the start. Often technology is being developed and put on the market in one way or another with vulnerabilities.
Okay.
To some extent, that's That's always going to be the case, but we need to do much more to make sure.
So software, we're talking about
software and
designers.
Hardware.
Okay.
You know, things like we've got all these Internet of Things devices now, cameras that we have in our homes,
True.
and things like that.
That are easily hacked, obviously, because it's like an old processor. It's an old. There's no security protocol in your coffee machine, for instance.
Yeah,
right?
and often they require a password, but it'll be using a default password. They all use the same one. Yeah, admin,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly. So often, you know, we've seen many cases of those being compromised.
Okay.
And they can then be used in other cyber attacks. So it gets complicated. So we need to make sure technology is developed with security in mind. We need to make security as frictionless as possible, so as easy to use as we can.
So like face recognition or thumb,
Things
all
like
that stuff. That's
yeah.
like, oh, thank God you can put that. I feel like I use apps more that have that built in, so I don't have to use my password all the fucking time.
I mean, that's a great example. Consumers driving security.
Yes.
So us asking for better security, us engaging with products that give us a greater level of security. That's brilliant, because then manufacturers will prioritize security more.
Okay, so we have technology, software, and hardware, obviously, and this can be driven by consumers. Like they can kind of drive that. That makes sense.
Yep.
But that's on such a large scale.
Sure.
It's hard. So that's one part of the solution. What is the other elements in that solution?
So as individuals, there's some quite straightforward stuff we can do to be better protected. You touched on one of them before, so two-factor authentication.
Obviously, yes.
So, you know, password management is really important.
Yeah.
So if you're using lots of passwords, got lots of different accounts, then look at having a password manager. That's
what is that?
I use. So a password manager is basically a vault for your passwords.
Oh, could it be on my phone?
Yep.
With my face?
You can use your face to log into it.
I love my face.
Yeah.
I make money off of this face. Not for much long, as you can tell, but we're just trying to keep it together, all those, you know.
You're doing very well.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're doing very well.
Pushing 40, what can I say? Anyway, because I always thought the vault was a problem because it's like all your passwords in one place. That seems unsecure.
So people worry about that. The first thing to know is with security online, it's the same as security in the real world.
Okay.
It can never be 100%, right?
Obviously.
There's always risk in everything we do.
Yeah.
There's risk in standing still and doing nothing.
Of course, you're right.
So with a password manager, if you use one that is reputable, you know, and has been tested, there's lots of them on the marketplace, and
so you buy one like an app store or whatever.
Usually their business model is that they will charge enterprises, but they will provide it for individuals for free.
Oh God, I love these people.
Great, right?
Software developers are the nicest, like freeware, the whole thing, you know. Oh, it's so nice.
So a password manager, it's what I use. We use one in our company.
So that would be on your
it can be on
local
your phone,
because then it doesn't go to like a cloud or something.
You can have both.
Okay.
So you can have one that is local. You can have one that is cloud-based. So you pick which one is best for you. And the way I look at it in terms of risk is the password management companies, like this is their bread and butter.
Good point.
They spend a lot of time, a lot
what
of money.
Else
they
are
do
they
a lot
money?
of testing.
I mean, that is the thing.
If they get breached, their business is
they're
over.
Fucked. Yeah, good point. You say over, I say fucked. We're on the same level though.
It means the
That's
same
a good
thing.
point. That's a good point actually. Very good point.
So I think that's much better. I mean, it is much better than reusing weak passwords all over the place, which is what's happening.
But so does that? I mean, I'm totally on the ground level now. But does that mean every time I need to log in somewhere, I need to open my thing and then see the actual password and then press that in?
No. So, great question. I'm really glad you asked that. The password managers, they're usually very clever. The way they're synced up, when you go on a device that has your password manager in it, it will automatically load the password.
That is great! I did not know this.
Isn't it great?
No, I will do that.
It will also generate passwords for you.
I don't want to know the password.
I don't know my passwords. I know one password.
Oh, that's great!
I know the password for my password manager. And it's a good one. Make that a good one. And then...
Because you'll never use it because it'll just use your face.
Yeah, exactly. And then...
that is great.
The other great thing about password managers, and I'm not on commission, by the way, we don't have a password manager.
No, we're not going to say any particular brand name. We'll
no.
just leave it up to people to find a reputable one.
But the other great thing is, obviously there's been lots of breaches. For example, like LinkedIn, Yahoo, these other big places where they were breached and people's usernames and passwords were stolen. If that happens, the password manager will let you know. So say, it happened to me actually like a year or two ago.
Really?
I had my MyFitnessPal account. They were breached and my password manager notified me, hey Jess, MyFitnessPal have been breached. You're going to want to change your password.
But they can't do it for you.
They don't do it for you,
yet.
but they tell you.
Yeah, okay.
Before it hit the news, before it was even on Twitter, my password manager told me to change my password.
Is that because they could see that
because they've got it
weird behavior?
synced up.
Yeah, and if they have like 10,000 accounts and all of them logged in at the same time or something changed, they can be like, oh, something happened.
So they send it out and they let everyone know.
Smart.
They're clever. So things like this, using the technology that's available to help us be more secure.
I'll get that password thing because you know what? I reset whenever I have to log into my web, I have like 50 web domains, and whenever I have to log into the control panel of that,
yes.
I cannot remember my password. I reset it all the time, which means I have to go into and I hate that.
Yes.
It's getting ridiculous now.
Yeah.
I just literally did it yesterday, and I cannot reuse the same password,
Of
and I
course.
run dry.
Yeah.
I know it's my name back and forth and stuff, it's getting ridiculous at the moment. Yeah. So maybe I should just, what? I will do that. Okay. So that's definitely something that's easy to approach.
It keeps us more secure. And like you've said, it actually makes life easier.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
So it actually does. But what if I use it on my computer and then on the phone?
Yes.
Then I have to
so then you can, that's when you would want one that's cloud-based.
Okay.
So it can sync across all of your devices.
Alrighty.
So whether you're going from your tablet, your laptop, your phone, it's all synced up.
All right, and then I would be able to just maybe use my fingerprint. I have that on my computer as well, or something. I just want to I want to do like a bio thing and not like.
Yes, you would still need a password for it.
Yes.
But then most of them are set up so they support biometrics as well.
Yeah. Okay. Done. So we have the companies, we have the back end kind of where's the technology, we have the hardware. They should do something. We on a personal level could try not to use the same password, use a password vault.
Yeah, password manager.
Yes. Well, that's a good thing. But is there anything behavioral that's because that's actually your ball game?
Yeah.
What's the? I know you're doing a lot about this positive way of communicating to people, how they should try to highlight a couple of things that you think this makes sense.
Yeah, so I work a lot with organizations on what they can do to be more engaging with security. Okay. And one of the big things for me is about being more positive. Security is always traditionally very negative.
True.
Which
very
is
frightening campaigns.
It's frightening.
Right?
Yeah, it focuses heavily on the threat, and of course we have to talk about the threat. That's what we're dealing with. But what's really important from my point of view is talking about the solutions and helping people understand the solutions, helping them understand why they work, helping them in using them, making people feel empowered.
Okay.
Because at the minute, I think a lot of people feel confused with security. They don't know what they can do. And a lot of people kind of feel like, I'm not technical, I can't do it, oh, it's too much. I'm just going to carry on doing whatever I was doing. So I'm very big on empowering people, on helping people feel confident, on giving them the skills and the knowledge and the confidence to be more secure online.
Okay. So building people's confidence up makes sense. That does definitely make sense. But how? Okay. In like practicality, or how, if I had a company, if I was a leader of some, how would you go about doing that if you're not technical yourself? Yeah. That's the problem. I mean, I have a CEO in my company. He's really not very technical, and he keeps that's like a thing he says, like, I'm not very technical, and which is fine. But it's just, how do we how can we convey that message if we don't know what we're talking about?
Sure. So obviously you want people, when you're creating your messaging around cybersecurity, you of course need people who can give you that technical knowledge, people who understand what the risk is and what to do and why mitigations are good. But you also really need to shape the messaging in a way that is engaging for people.
Okay.
So, and there's lots of things you can do in an organization. For example, one thing that I find really successful is having cybersecurity champion programs.
What does that mean, champion?
So basically, if you think about an organization, often we will have like health and safety reps or fire wardens.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so we have the same for cybersecurity. people who
like
are
HR,
not,
you just need like another division.
Not a division in itself.
Not like a representative.
Yeah, a representative, perfect. A representative in the different teams that can talk about security, can translate messages for people. If there's an incident, they can provide the contact to the security team. They can deliver some key messages, they can do a bit of awareness raising. Yeah,
because the problem is that the level of interest versus the threat is improportional. Mm-hmm. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I think people are kind of interested. It's more the level of engagement and
also the level
understanding.
Also the level of investment.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, the people I don't want to pay €8 per month for this password thing.
Sure.
They're I mean, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Compared to how big the threat is and how big a difference that app or that thing would make for that company, right? I mean, there's kind of a disproportion there, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely in terms of investment, but also kind of investment of time. And people, unless security is your day job, you've got other stuff to do.
Yeah,
you're
obviously.
busy. You're trying to deal with all this other stuff in your life, and security can feel like another thing to do. And people will often think, "Oh, I'll do that tomorrow."
Yes.
Until the worst happens.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh shit! This is whenever I have these conversations about this thing, I feel, as you just said, I'll do this tomorrow. But do you realize? I think we all use the same 6-digit password for all of our mail accounts in my company, for instance.
Okay. Yeah. Just maybe want to change that. It's the sort of thing that if you do it today, it takes a little bit of time. Yeah, you have to do it, but it takes a lot less time and a lot less money than if you get breached and then you have to try and recover.
You're right about this, but maybe when we say, "Oh, this is a new threat," or that now there's an extra layer, another thing we have to do, maybe we should also talk about the fact that this same digitization and technology has also taken a lot of jobs, a lot of work off of our hands. Uh-huh. So, there might be a new thing here with the security, but think about all the positive sides the technology had that I think we maybe tend to forget. We want all the advantages, but we do not want to give the small disadvantage that is to maybe up the cybersecurity compared to the crazy amount of help it's given us.
And so quickly as well. I mean, it's been incredible, the pace of change in technology.
Right.
So quick that actually we haven't really been able to take stock of that, which I think is why security is still a bit behind, because we've raced ahead, and that's great with all of the things we can do.
Solutions, all the positive stuff,
progress,
of course.
Brilliant.
Yeah, makes sense.
But we just need to be okay, let's just take a second to get the security in place, and then we can keep enjoying it.
It feels like we're building an amazing house, a palace that is beautiful and perfect. It has all that stuff, and we just put a shitty little, not even a lock, but those little hinges, that you have in shitty bathrooms that you could, if you actually do this, then it just pops up. Yeah, that kind of lock in the front door.
And we're thinking, we'll sort it out.
Yeah, and you still sleep tight during the night. Why you wouldn't do that in a house? It's.
Sure. But it's funny. I actually find often people will kind of worry about security.
Yeah.
They will be aware.
But they just don't do anything about it.
But they're it feels too much. It feels complicated. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the right thing to do is. Like you said about the password manager, people will feel I know what I'm doing with passwords right now isn't right, but what about the risks of a password manager? And people will worry about that, and then it will be paralyzing.
Okay. All right, so let's spend the last couple of minutes before I have to drive you off. We're almost at the airport. Kind of maybe exactly like you said, making people at ease at what they should do. Let me rephrase that.
Sure.
What are the 2, 3, 4? What are the things that you as a person can do to greatly reduce your risk? Yeah. It could be either personal, it could be at a company level. What you get totally to decide, because you've seen it from the inside. What would make the biggest difference with the smallest amount of investment of time and money, because that's what everybody wants to hear, right?
Yes.
Like if I can do 80% with a 5% investment, done.
Oh, and easily you can. This is the good news.
Oh, that's just great.
Particularly on an individual level.
Okay.
Right?
We're talking about me as a private person in terms of...
Yeah, me as an individual. Okay. The good news is that there are a few behaviors you can put in place that will protect you from like 98% of the threat.
Really?
Yeah, having good passwords, having unique passwords.
Okay, that's number one.
Password Manager helps with.
Unique passwords for each thing, and then make a cloud-based password manager if you're using more than one device, as most people do. That the iPads and blah, blah, blah. I will get that in place. I will do that today.
Brilliant.
Tonight I will do that, and then I'll have it change all my passwords to the things I don't know.
And that's perfect. That is a fantastic step. Next one, you're already doing it. Two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication, which you can do on Instagram, Facebook, on some mail accounts, not all mail accounts. Yeah, but most of them. Yeah. And this means if your password is breached, that it's so much harder for criminals to get into your account because you have this two-step setup.
You have to have, both their iPhone and their password. They have to have a physical device as well, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So that really helps a lot to secure your accounts. And be careful of the links you click on. Be careful of these spear phishing emails. If an email comes in, or a text message, or something on social media, or WhatsApp, and it's asking you to click a link, download an attachment, give over information, if you're not expecting it, and most importantly, if it makes you feel emotional, if it makes you feel scared, ashamed, worried, flattered,
anything that piques any emotion.
They play on our emotions to cloud our judgment so that we click that link, so that we panic and enter our card details or our password. So watch out.
But clicking it in itself, is that dangerous?
It depends. Annoying answer, but it depends. Sometimes they're getting us to click a link, to go to a page.
Because just going to a page, what can that do?
You can be sometimes clicking the link or downloading an attachment that is infected with malware. I
would never download and execute a file, for instance.
Yeah. So be very careful. Basically, if in doubt, just don't click it. If it's from your bank or a friend or your boss, pick up the phone and ring them on a number that you trust. Don't use a number that's in the message or the email, and just say, hey, I've got this email. Is it legit?
So actually, my mother is not stupid for calling me whatever she gets.
Your mother is practicing perfect.
Okay, well, she'll be
tell
happy.
her. Yeah.
She'll happy to hear that, actually, I think.
Gold star.
Very good. So actually just doing... And that's also kind of like a two-factor authentication.
It is.
A manual two-factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Just calling the phone.
Yeah.
I'm going to run this very yellow light. I'm sorry about this, people. Actually calling the person who supposedly emailed you, or the bank or something. But I guess you also said something, I think that's pretty nice. If you get an email with a clickable link and you're like, oh, is this from... You could always just go to the website on your own.
Yeah.
And go... It'll take 30 more seconds.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So if it's, common ones are it'll look like it's coming from Facebook or Twitter or Gmail or whatever, saying, oh, you need to change your password. Don't click on the link. Just open up a new tab and go to Facebook or whatever it is, log in, and if you have to do something, it'll let you know.
And you cannot hack that. That would be almost impossible.
Yeah, going to the legitimate
That would be crazy, right?
And that's,
That's another ball game, at least, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If they hacked Facebook, that would be quite impressive, actually. But so that's the thing. That's the thing. Those are the. You're saying if I enforce these three things,
do these things, that will help so much. And a final note I would just add is keep your devices and stuff up to date. So when they push out an update, you want to get that, downloaded, installed as soon as you can, because often they're doing those to patch security bugs.
I've heard this before, but it still annoys me that there's always these fucking updates.
I know.
And I feel like, you're just clocking up my computer and my phone with all those new, and you're making it slower. That's all this propaganda that you hear from people who think, they just want us to buy new devices and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's actually, maybe that's also the case, but at least there is a good reason.
There is. It is often some kind of bug that's been discovered, and So by installing the latest update, you keep your device patched, and it means that bug won't affect you.
Okay. So that's the last thing you do. And this will, I guess, will also do well if you're in a company and you're in an organization, because this kind of behavior will trickle down to also being the way you behave on your company computer, company phone, and your email there. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. We often work with clients and we will give advice to people about their personal lives, because it then translates to what people do in their working lives. And all of these messages, you know, whether it is your personal life or your working life, it's the same things that you need to be doing.
And I guess it's also easier to engage people when it's their own money, their own security we're talking about, right? I mean, if I feel like that's definitely something that's easier for me to, you know, it's definitely easier for me to kind of swallow that annoying thing with having to change all these things, because I know it's my own security that's on the line here. Yeah,
sure. Yours and, you know, people's families. You can talk to them about their kids, their parents. Like, we all want to be as safe as we can in our personal lives, and we want our family and our friends to be safe.
I guess. Oh, yeah. Oh. It's just, you know, there's no, do you know what I mean? There's just no, I know there's a huge reason for me to do it, but there's no upside, you know, there's no immediate upside for me.
Well, it's funny you say that, but then we talked about the passwords and the headache of having to reset your passwords, trying to remember passwords. Like, that is all, it's all really annoying. And actually being able to solve that problem and be more secure, that's a big upside.
Yes. Oh, I guess you're right. It's just, your problem is always, it's just a little boring. I know you're conveying the message.
I do my best.
You do your best. You're conveying the message, you know, with a lot of humor, and I think that's like, you know, essential, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's, you know, people can think, oh, this stuff, it only applies to governments or it only applies to big business. What we're seeing, for example, is influencers, social media influencers.
I am one.
Being targeted.
You know what? I have like 100,000 followers.
Okay, well,
and I make a lot of money off of my Instagram and stuff. And I just recently changed my password to something that isn't just my last name. I know. Because I could have lost my livelihood.
Yes.
And I did.
And it's happened to people. It's happened to people. So I've just finished a book, and one chapter is all about security and how it applies to industries that we wouldn't necessarily think about. So I did a lot of research onto what's happening with social media influencers, and you all are a target. So I am really
I have two-factor. Yes. I have a password like, I have no idea what it is.
Brilliant.
And also the email that I used to restore it, I also changed that password to a very hard one.
Okay,
this is good. Do I get a gold star as well?
This is good. You do, gold star.
We are at the airport.
Go.
It's such a pleasure.
Thank you
Again,
so much.
the Corona knuckles. Corona knuckles. Hopefully, I mean, we can solve that as well. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I think it's a super, super interesting subject. And I'll go do that thing.
Yes, do it.
I'll tell Nikolai about it in the car. He'll do the same.
Yes,
right?
you better.
Yeah.
Yeah, be secure.
So, the British, they're just so cool, you know, and funny, and I feel like they just get me. I feel like we just, you know, even though it's kind of not a boring subject, but it's kind of it can be quite nerdy, a little bit dull, this subject of cybersecurity. But I think she really found a way to make it a little more edible. And I am going to do one of those things, she said. I know there's a lot of things you can do to improve your personal cybersecurity, but I'm going to do that one thing with the password vault, where you kind of gather all your passwords in one. I think that's a brilliant idea. I did not know that it actually worked together with all the other apps and all the other websites and stuff, so you don't have to actually physically input the password every time. I think that's good news. So I'm going to do that one thing and then change, so I have different passwords for everything. Maybe I should also do that in the company. So many things we should do. But important, I think the best thing to take away from this is there's so many things that can go wrong, and and the repercussions are huge. And it's so easy to fix with a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of effort that it's I mean, you would be stupid not to, make those changes. To make that little effort to make your cybersecurity so much better. So, yeah, Nikolai, you should probably do that as well.
You were listening to Shotgun. We share knowledge. Powered by BMW in collaboration with UNX.